Hello everyone and welcome. Yes, my name is Arafire. Welcome back to another episode of Look Out and Shout. And we'll get ready for this one because today we are reviewing Fanstoys FT-32A Gehry, their version of a G1 scrapper. This has been sent down to me from my good friends at Primetime Toys, which you too can pick up your own copy of this figure by heading to primetimetoys.co.uk. I'll put a link in the description below. And as such, there is a code you can use. You can use PowerUp10 to get 10% off your first order. I am very grateful for Primetime to send me down this figure. I am really looking forward into this. It's a very nice box, a typical Fanstoys artwork on the front of Gehry in both modes. I'm led to believe Gehry is the name of a famous architect. I don't know this for sure. I saw a post on Facebook somewhere relating to that. But that kind of would make sense given that Scrapper is indeed an architect of himself. But it's nice, I suppose, with the construction element. It does make me wonder, are we going to get 6 other architects? And I'm not au fait with other names. It would be interesting to see what they are going to be called. Back of the box we have some nice product shots, only of Scrapper. Whilst Right Hook Scavenger is close to coming out, it looks very complete. We haven't seen any images of it being released in the wild, other than we've seen some prototype shots alongside it. And it looks near to be done. But I would think if it's that close to being done, it will be on the back of this box as well, imminently to be released. Inside the box comes the bot's accessories, which we'll go into in a minute, but also comes with the instruction booklet, as well as a collector's card with stats on the back. And they're not very high, and I also can't read them. Worth mentioning as well, there is a QR code on the top of this box. Now, I think that's the first time I've actually noticed it on a box. It could have been on Ethereum, it could have been on the Jester box, but it does say video instruction, i.e. transformation. Now, I have scanned it. It takes you to the social media site, I believe it's a Chinese one, and it doesn't necessarily want to work. So if there is a video that is to be uploaded, it's to a platform that I can't access in this part of the Western world. But fear not, you can go onto YouTube, go onto Fanstoys' own channel, and there will be a transformation video up there. Okay, let's take a look at the bot himself, shall we? And here he is in his robot mode. When you pick him out of the box, that feel of, wow, this guy is impressive, this guy is big. You get that sparkly magic that you can get from most Fanstoys figures, not necessarily all of them, but certainly in this case, you do get that kind of first impression magic. As I allude to Moff's video from Primetime Toys when he did a short showing this figure being unboxed for the first time. And there is that kind of wow as you pick it out and you handle it. It's a very hefty figure. It's a very large figure. It's definitely MP scale, and it certainly scales with some of the larger masterpieces. But when you put it up alongside some of the other combiner offerings that are out on the market, it's very big, possibly too big. You're likely to scale this with existing masterpiece figures like an MP36, like MP13, some of the more larger standalone scales of masterpiece than you are along the side of Protector bots or even some of the Magic Square offerings of the Combaticons in MP scale. He's going to dwarf them because Fanstoys just don't aim for that demographic. You've seen with their figures like Lupus, Chomp, figures like that, they're going for that 9, almost 10-inch scale. And when you pick this guy up, he has that size and build in spades. He's very square. I can't say he's not. I thought that in the images when I saw him. And in hand, yes, he is square. The chest is very blocky across, the arms as well. I wouldn't say it's massively hypertoon. I think if it was going to be hypertoon, then the wheels would have folded away. At least this is how it's come out of the box. Probably I've missed something where you have to fold them away inside the legs as part of a mistransformation. I'm quite known for that. Here he is holding the gun as well. I thought I'd better show that to you right from the start. It's a nice enough gun. We'll show you that in a closer look in a second. But yeah, he's very hefty, very square, and he's a very nicely painted scrapper. Let's get in for a closer look. So I don't know if I bring him in close, you're not going to see with the light. The purple, I wondered this with the purple. Now, there was some talk about whether the purple had been toned down on the chest? I think it has been. The thing is, and I was thinking of this as this was coming towards me, I feel this purple looks good depending on where the light is. I think purple just generally as a colour, and the paint that Fanstoys use kind of accentuates that a little bit. In some lights, like here, where there's practically no front light on it, it's really dark, it's really dull, particularly around these sections. Get it back, and there is a sheen, there is a shine, but you can see it's not the most reflective. And okay, we've seen this with Fanstoys' suggested offering for Blitzwing and how it's going to go from a lighter pinky purple almost. I would have maybe liked that on this, because the green used is a very bright green. It's a very tune accurate green. It's nothing wrong with it, but it's very bright versus very dark, at least in certain lights. But the head sculpt, if I can get it into a bit of focus for you, is very, very nice. It's very square. I love the red visor. I love the faceplate. I always felt Scrapper had the best looking head sculpt of the lot, and this is no exception. Maybe it's a tiniest bit narrow compared to the width of the chest and shoulders as well, if I'm being picky. But it's got definite character to it. It certainly does look like a Scrapper. The legs aren't too much to write home about. You have more of a toe tilt than an ankle tilt. He doesn't balance to the side because the legs are so blocky, so square, as is most of this figure. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think they've obviously thought about the weight, but you can see the very square shoes that he has on, and rather the base of the legs going down to the floor, what will make the side of the feet is just all one piece. So that's where the balancing and articulation comes in, not so much on the legs itself, not so much on across the back ankle tilt. Just a decision they decided to make, and I imagine with transformation in mind. The gun itself is fine. It's a pretty standard gun. Yeah, it's probably accurate. I can find some Transformers guns to look a little bit bland these days. They just look that gunmetal grey. Not necessarily a problem, but if you go back to the G1 cartoon, they were not meant to be anything special, other than maybe Prime's gun, other than maybe Ultra Magnus's gun. They were just generic blasters, and no exception here, really. What I will show you is articulation. Now, articulation is fine, considering he's very square, but I find, at least on this copy, he is a bit stiff, so you do have to give it a bit of movement. That's not too bad for the shoulder going out on a friction. Stiffer friction going sideways. You can hear it squeaking. Bicep rotation's fine. Elbows both sides, very, very stiff. You do get a very nice bend, well over 90 degrees, which is good. And then wrist rotation, but again, that's quite stiff. And this is where I get concerned for stiffness. Same around the fingers. The fingers are fine, but when you get smaller digits, you're more likely to encourage breakages. And I will say, I've had the hand pop off on me already with the tightness of the wrist. It's on a mushroom peg, so it will clip back on, but such is the over tightness of it. It's just something to be mindful of. Head articulation can look up nicely. Can't really look down. Left and right, bit stiff again. Okay, that's your waist rotation. Now, let's talk about that. A lot of people have spoken around it, saying it's not good. I agree. I've said this before. I've condemned figures for not having waist rotations. I've condemned Fanstoys for not having waist rotations. Let's have a look at what we're dealing with back here. Could they not have engineered a waist rotation into that? Possibly. It's tricky because the back of Scrapper's going to make the cab of the alt mode. I could possibly forgive the aerial bots, the Fanstoys aerial bots, because there's a lot of plain gubbins that lives on the back of the figure. But I don't know. I think there could have been a partition where some of the back kibble lives in the upper back section, some lives in the bottom, and we could have had a waist rotation. I don't necessarily need a full 360 degree turn, but maybe, I don't know, 15 degrees that way, 15 degrees that way, to get some posability for, for articulation. And yeah, we've done this before, so it will be a slight deduction on the figure. Other people have said that as well. So yeah, again, if we're past that now, I think we're past the point of not having waist articulation on Masterpiece figures, particularly if we get double bends at elbows and things like that. If we move the hip skirt up, a quietish ratchet going out, but you get a nice 90 out. Friction on the side does kind of expose the joint somewhat. You can see what's there. Nice bend. I think it's on a ratchet, possibly not. For a 90-degree knee bend, I like seeing that stuff come out. See that once or twice on figures, that's pretty cool. And again, you get that much of a toe tilt being your ankle tilt. But there is enough posability in the legs to get some nice stances as well. That is quite cool. Okay, so let's go through his only other accessory that he's going to use really in robot mode, and that is his drum pit, which is very, very nice. Very, very chromy. I don't really want to hold it too much and get any smudge marks on it. Surprisingly nice, all die cast, metal, chrome, very nice piece, very reflective. And I can imagine all 6 of them coming with these when the set is released. So, what I like even more is it has a peg on it. You can just see there, where the tip of my finger is, that he can plug into the palm of his hands like a gun to hold. My only issue with it is, as you can possibly see, that's as close as I can get it to his face. Now, I'm sure people will tell me, you need to do this, you need to do that. I can't see anywhere on the shoulder where you can unhinge it for a butterfly joint to bring it forward to have a cross over the chest, very a la the movie. Okay, here's a couple of points with it. The tolerances are so tight that whilst it pegs in fine enough, and this is metal whereas a gun is plastic, by the time you bend the stiffness of the elbow and get the hand in place, it can constantly dislodge this. It's fine once it's in, but if you try and move it with the trumpet already in place, it will keep falling out, and it's a minor annoyance. That's as close as I can get it, and that's with a bit of full bend on the elbow, bit of tilting back but still keeping it upright, and you can sort of see the distance I'm getting, and that's also with a bit of outward shoulder as well. That's the best I've managed to get it. I've seen a couple of photos, not many, where people have done similar. I think I've even seen a product shot where it's a similar pose to this. You cannot get it flush to his mouth. A minor annoyance. It's a nice accessory. It almost goes into the, you didn't need to provide it, but it is a cool accessory nevertheless. I can't imagine him using it too much unless you want to display all 6 of them individually for the coronation effect. Now, the only other accessory I'll really show, and I won't spend too much time on it, this is for the back of Devastator's foot. His heel, his stiletto, whatever you want to call it. It's very heavy, it's pure die cast, it has to be to take and combine a weight, and he can store it on the back of scrapper. It goes just on the back of his cab, at least according to the instructions, and I've only seen one picture of this. I think it makes a click, but really it also just sits. My concern is, oh, it does hold. I did try it before, and it is a fair bit of back weight, because if I tilt it, it doesn't take much and it'll start to go. The feet do lend it to it. He will have storage, but at least you could say he can hold in robot mode the back of the stilts, his gun as well, and the trumpet all in one sitting, which is good. You can't have complete storage on many figures, so it's nice that you can. It is a fair bit of back weight, but if you just want to keep it all out of the box in the meantime, yes, it is a little bit unsightly, but we kind of knew this was going to happen. Fanstoys said they were going to release combining parts with each figure, and Scrapper is really just a leg in and of himself, so I suppose it is part of him. It does look a bit backpack heavy with this on. It does look very kibble central. You don't have to have it on, but that's how you can store it nevertheless. Okay, on to some comparisons. Here he is alongside X-Transbots. I'll say the name again, Big Load. I love seeing these two together. I put them side by side on the shelf, and considering they're 2 different companies and a different temperature of green being used, they look fantastic together. They really do. We are very much in the midst of the Devastator Wars, and we're going to have X-Transbots and Fanstoys in particular trying to outdo one another. I'm surprised they didn't go for the same figure first, really, to try and point score on one another. But they look really, really good. X-Transbots have gone for a much more slender offering on what is going to be their biggest spot of the set, I'm sure. Going to be the biggest spot of any Constructicon set, because Big Load or Long Haul is going to take a lot of the Devastator weight. So, yeah, I'm not at all surprised. how Scrapper's shaping up alongside him. I think when Fanstoys get to doing this character, this guy's going to be at least this big, if not bigger. But I love how they look nevertheless. It's going to look so cool. Whichever set you go in for, having all 6 of these side by side, I can really see a very imposing set come the end of it. No comparison at all, really. Here he is alongside Blocky's Scrapper. Yeah, no comparison at all. Just thought I'd show you. Here he is alongside Magic Square's recent release of the MP scale Brawl, their heavy gunner. There is quite a lot of differences here. One in material, certainly scale, but remember these two are legs. They're both leg bots. But another thing to remember is that Magic Square threw in a big faux foot for Bruticus, where other than the heel stilts, Scrapper doesn't have that. And of course, 5 bot set, 6 bot set. I don't know if you can do a fair comparison, but certainly if you were thinking for the meantime to have them in robot mode side by side, yeah, they're going to scale quite a bit different. Different companies, different approaches, but in terms of lore, in terms of what we believe, I would say Brawl would be easily the same size as Scrapper. The individual Constructicons, with the exception of Longhaul, weren't necessarily big. So yeah, that's how he looks alongside Magic Square's recent release. And alongside his fellow architect, here he is alongside Takara's version of Grapple. This figure is a fair bit older now, but it's surprising how much bigger he is compared to him. Now, I'm definitely going to believe in terms of lore that Grapple was bigger than Scrapper. So that doesn't add up, but a lot of time has passed since this figure was released. They look cool together, they complement one each other, but yeah, we're seeing a lot of time and we've got 2 different companies. This is meant to be a combiner, this isn't. But that's how they look together. It is a bit surprising to see Scrapper dwarf him though. And alongside his creator, or the person who created him, or I don't know, Megatron and Constructicons, we could be here all day. This is very much how this set was built. You looked at it, I feel fully that MP36 was the standard bearer for this set, that they want to make 6 Constructicons that form a Masterpiece Sales Devastator, but none of them need to be taller than MP36. I feel completely that was Fanstoys' approach. And if you see sort of the head-to-toe aspect, yeah, they scale together really, really well. They look really cool together. But I can very much believe that MP36 was who they had in mind to make this set. They look really cool nevertheless. I can imagine people storing this Scrapper alongside Megatron whilst the set is being completed anyway. Okay, let's get this guy into digger mode, shall we? And there he is in his vehicle mode. I'm not going to lie, it wasn't the most easiest transformation that I thought it was going to be. It really does have a tendency to be... what's the word I'm looking for? It should be more straightforward, at least you think it should be. It's going from a very square robot into a very square looking alt mode. It should be straightforward. There's a lot of work involved in the arms, which become the front of the digger. The legs are actually quite straightforward by comparison. I don't know if it's just my copy, but it's very stiff. And there's a couple of disconcerting clicks here and there that you've got to make. It's not terrible. The videos that Fanstoys seem to be putting out now for their transformations do help. Again, I didn't use the instructions. I referred straight to the videos. But you do kind of work out where things are going. Couple of disconcerting clicks, like getting this central hood back to go sort of 45-degree backward to make some room. That took a lot of effort, and I really wasn't sure where that was going to go. But it's a very solid digger. It's really quite cool how the front digger section all folds out and expands and keeps on these arms and hinges, which I'll show you in a second. I didn't know if he'd stay on the turntable. You do notice the weight. It's the same weight as alt mode, or rather it's the same weight as robot mode. When it's all condensed, you just seem to notice it more. In your hands, it feels very deft, very heavy. Got a lovely chrome wheel going on and rubber tyres, which is a big thumbs up from me. Let's get in for a closer look. So if I pick him up, he's just really got that presence to him. But there's nice motion on the digger. It's 2 arms. It's just, you can hear the squeaking. But you do get some nice action out of it. Very nice, in fact. It just, you're pushing things forever, all the time. Even on a transformation video, I could hear the person who was transforming it and put it in place. You could hear all the squeaking and the squeals going off and the plastic straining as the transformation was being done. It doesn't fill you with the most confidence, but anyway. All four wheels roll. I think the front wheels maybe drag just a little bit more. Other than that, it doesn't have too much in way of detail. You can possibly see around the back some nice little grid vents. The underside is what it kind of is. And yeah, it's very locked, very tabbed, very secure, very, very heavy. Very heavy. There's so much die cast in this figure. Now, there is a way to store his gun, at least according to the instructions. It's towards the rear of the figure. I am led to believe this shadow peg. You can just see where my nail is there, going into one of these. And I guess that's how it's supposed to go. Yeah, it's fine. It can act as a bit of an exhaust too, which is a nice feature. They felt the need to slightly protrude it. Now, the tricky part. This thing. This does go a certain direction. So to do this, this part goes forward, and then this does an awkward hinge down. And then two circular connections at the back, and you restore. So now he looks even stockier than before. Well, it's storage. I can't say it's not storage. It's a way of storing an otherwise very large piece. I guess it just feels, I can't imagine you doing this too much maybe. I don't know. It does blend in, I will say that much, but for a very heavy part to go onto a part of it that doesn't compromise too much. You've got the gun at the back, this on the top. It's more in keeping, but that's how you do vehicle storage. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to keep him on there, but that's what you can do with it. Okay, let's get on to some comparisons. Here he is alongside X-Transbots, I'll say it again, big load. Love how these two look together. You're getting big masterpiece engines now. You're getting these big 6 construction vehicles. Or you've got to keep a set in alt mode because they're going to look so good. I mean, the size is, well, big load is not small, but Scrapper is very, very big. You look at the sizing going on. There is really a lot here. There's some big vehicles. Real construction site vibe. I mean, just for scale, just for reference. Here is little Blocky Scrapper just sitting down on the front there. Yeah, okay, Blocky's not exactly in the same range as Masterpiece, but wow, these are really big guys. They're going to take up a big space in your collection to have all 6 of them. Another typical Masterpiece offering in MMC Hoist, which keeps in with the Masterpiece Carbot scale. Again, Masterpiece and Masterpiece. Older figure, different companies. Does it scale right? No, this is what I've said with the Superion video. I feel combiners get a bit of a pass. Yeah, that's going to be quite a thing to do, to have a digger would be bigger than a Jeep or a pickup truck of some kind. But yeah, I don't know if you can really class the same as Masterpiece. They're working to 2 different scales. As I say, this is keeping with the Masterpiece Carbot scale. This is doing its own thing. But I feel the need to compound this issue further. Look how big he is alongside Takara, Masterpiece, Rodimus Prime. He's near enough the entirety of Rodimus, trailer and all. This is massive stuff. I cannot get that across enough. This is brilliant stuff. It's a lot. You're paying for it. You're paying for the die cast. This guy's got a lot of die casts. But I just can't get over that size, particularly in both modes when you scale them alongside other companies' offerings. Fanstoys really are in a lane of their own when they go for their own scale, individual mode or otherwise. Right, let's get this guy in his leg mode, shall we? And there he is as a leg. Now, I will say, getting him into this mode was way more involved than I thought it was going to be. But to go from that digger into this leg with no wasted parts, with everything having a dual meaning, an arm can be part of the front of the digger to whatever, is brilliant. The fact that they've constructed this size come the end of it, it really is impressive. I will say straight away, I've done something wrong. Underneath this hood, there's a screening of some kind that comes over to cover up these tyres, and I've forgotten to pull it down. So you just have to imagine that you can't see the tyres at all. But if I bring it in a bit closer, it's just a lot to get in. That is impressive. You've got the arms of robot mode coming down, going onto the front of the digger, the hinges of the digger itself coming up, and his stilettos towards the back, all taking that weight. And it's so solid. It's so proportioned well. You've got kind of a leg tilt towards the back acting as the knee. It feels safe as houses. It's really good. So heavy. How big is this bloody Devastator going to be? I don't think there's anywhere for weapon storage. I think at the back of the legs you peg over with these bits here for where the storage was for alt mode. So I think his trumpets or anything else kind of just has to stay in the box if you're going to store it like this. But it's a very good looking leg. For what they've achieved, it's impressive. That's when you're going through the transformation and things are double hinging and having double meanings and coming around and tabbing in, particularly the likes of here. It's really well thought out. It's a construction project, and my God, did it ever need it. This is so heavy, it's going to take a lot of weight, and yet there's bend in the right places. I think I've done it all right. Maybe I've untransformed something, getting it into this position, but that's more or less how it's going to look as a leg. Now, I will put up this picture that I've just taken alongside Legacy Tidal Wave and Fanstoys Superion, Etherion. You can see how big this is going to be. This is well past Etherion's thigh, and this is just one character. And there's 6 of them. I can see Devastator being bigger than Etherion. Etherion's already big, which doesn't help me OCD, but I don't know. We'll see more when more releases come out. But I'm so impressed with what they've done. Have they sacrificed other modes to do this one? Have they sacrificed for the combined mode? It's up to you to decide. I would say no, but I think of the 3 modes, this isn't the weakest. Not at all. I think it's a very good looking leg. I think it's going to look very good as Devastator's leg. No faux parts with the exception of his stiletto heels. Maybe. But otherwise, it's all there. It's all being repurposed. It's all hinging back round. Yeah, quite an involved transformation to get to this point, but quite surprised come the end of it. So what is my view on Scrapper the Rapper? I really do like many things about it. It's a lot here that's caught me by surprise. It's not to say it's perfect, but I cannot tell you how big this is. Arguably too big for what it's trying to achieve, at least in terms of a scrapper. And I cannot tell you how heavy this is. Now, okay, let me focus on one point first. This has been made with Devastator in mind. Let us not lose sight of that. Let us not lose sight of the fact that this will be a leg, and a big part of the leg, of a 16 combiner. Whilst it's meant to be scrapper, it's not meant to be the definitive scrapper, I don't think. I think this is being made with combined mode first. I don't think anything's been sacrificed particularly, not a Zeta version of a combiner, but it feels so built to take the weight. This is why I feel this guy is so heavy. I think one thing I'm thinking of, how heavy this guy's going to be. How heavy is Devastator going to be? That's one thing I'm thinking. Etherion's heavy enough. Etherion's big enough. We're dealing with a lot of die-cast. There's not too much plastic here. A lot of it is die-cast. There's plastic at the back, but the arms, that's where you hold it, you feel it. The bot mode is probably the best individual selling point. Whilst I wouldn't say it's an absolutely perfect scrapper, I do think it looks very good. And when you put it alongside the likes of MP36, you really do see how good it is. I do like this mode. I like the digger. I like the digging aspect, the moving arms. You can have a fair bit of fun with playing dump truck, as it were, or rather now you can. The transformation did surprise me for it being as complicated as it was. I feel It should have been easier, and I didn't think Scrapper would be that complicated. I thought arms would fold away somewhere, legs would go away somewhere. But as this big digger section was all on his back, I was surprised how involved it was bringing it all forward. It wasn't painful. I've done worse. I just thought it was a bit more involved for what it was trying to achieve. The tolerances do worry me a slight bit. It's fine, but please use a part separator. That's all I'm going to say on the matter. It's very stiff. I, again, feel that's to take a lot of weight. There's no floppy parts here, definitely not. I do think there is the fact it's going to be a leg like this. And, yeah, that's a lot to take. Plus, with its mechanical stilt around the back of it, more or less. What did we think of Toy World so long ago? What did we think about the Combiner Wars one, the start of that? This is going to dwarf so much. This could be the biggest Devastator release to date. I am interested to see where X-Transbots go next. I love this figure. I'm not going to do a straight comparison. Long Haul, Scrapper, two different characters, but I really do like this to the point that I want to see what their Scrapper's going to be like, which we're led to believe will be coming out next, whenever that may be. I think you're going to be in for two sets. You could say one for Robot Mode, one for Alt Mode. Yeah, fine. Which is which? I think this is going to be the Robot Mode. Fanstoys do tremendous Robot Modes, but the paint is exceptional. For what is not my favourite colour scheme of Devastator, I've said this before, I've never particularly been the biggest fan of this pale green. Not that Fanstoys haven't made it look good, but it's just not my favourite colour of green for Devastator. I would like a darker green, personally. But they've done it very, very well. The eyes, the red is lovely. Even the duller aspects of the figure, like around the legs, the grey thighs, look really nice, look really good. Weapon storage on the underside, very nice, particularly the fact that you can even put on this big, ridiculous piece onto its back. You have complete storage, which is lovely. Rubber tyres, very nice movement as well. It's just a very big green digger. And that's as much as you can say about it. As much as I can say about the X-Transbot's big load. There's big chunky fun to be had here. It's transformation and weight is two things that are sticking in my mind. Price, I've heard really varying points around the price. I've seen as little as $130, I've seen as much as $170. $199, which I think comes out to around £170. Yeah, it seems a bit high. So there are varying prices out there, but do go and check out Pride Home Toys. They will give you tremendous shipping. That is a big recommend from me. They clearly were quite keen to get on this, because how soon did this come out after Jester? They were very keen to get one combiner finish and instantly onto the next one. We've got a limb of a third combiner team out before they finish their Menasor. So yeah, what does that tell you? It tells you that there's 6 bots in this set, and it tells you that they're going to come with their pieces included, and it's going to be big come the end of it. So weighing up all options of price, build, tolerances and everything else, what is my final score for this figure? I give this 4 Rodimus Star Badges. It's because it's got a lot going for it. It's got a lot of plus features. Whilst it might not be the definitive Scrapper out there and could be beaten by an X-Transbots, MMC or whoever, there is a lot of fun to be had with big chunky diggers. Whatever you do, whoever you choose, you're going to have big fun together. They scale so well together for 2 different companies, and even if the greens are not matching, having them side by side in my collection for a time is very, very nice. Putting them together for the comparison shot is equally as nice. Yeah, so is a recommend from me if you can get it, if you are minded for having a big digger for a big combiner. And there we go, that is my review of Fanstoys FT-32A Gehry, their version of a G1 Scrapper. I'll stick some photos up at the end. Thanks for watching. Do not forget to like, share and hit that subscribe button, because I will see you on the next one.